Woof. This Neewer lighting kit on Amazon cost me $383. Did I just waste $383 or will it be a useful addition to my studio? Let's find out. I'm Dave Sterrett, self-employed photographer here in Toronto, Canada. I own this studio space and I often get requests from, friends and other photographers to rent the space. And sometimes when people rent the space, they want to use rental gear while they're here. Rent my gear, actually. Problem is, I hate to rent my gear. I'm actually a bit anal about it, about how it gets handled. I don't like the way people treat their stuff. I don't like the way it gets handled. I've even got an OCD about how the cables get rolled up. So, yeah, I'm a weirdo, I guess. But anyways, this only applies to my gear, obviously, you can tell by looking at me. But regardless, I thought I'd look at these Neewer lights as an option for people who just need a simple kit available for maybe some YouTube shooting, or they just want to do a small product shot or a simple headshot or something like that. And you don't want to have the grief of dealing with someone in the city's, rental facilities. Renting's a hassle, and, it's a great option on some high-end shoots or some specialized gear. It can add a bit to the stress and the expense of a shoot, especially when it's something as basic as a lighting kit like this. So, first off, what comes in the box? It does lack the new car smell for sure. Maybe more of a musty basement, but let's have a look inside. Inside we have 4 79-inch or 7 feet light stands, 2 single head light holders, 4 45-watt CFL daylight bulbs, 2 33-inch white umbrellas, 2 24-inch by 24-inch light boxes, 3 6x9 polyester backdrops. There's a black one, a white one, and a green one. And 6 handy-dandy backdrop clamps, 1 8.5 foot by 10 foot background support system, a carry bag for the support system, and a carry bag for the continuous light kit itself. So let's have a closer look at the build quality. The background stands are 8.5 feet tall, which I find fine for, a seated portrait, but much too short for a full length, if you need any headroom at all. The promo that they have online on the Amazon site, actually, it looks like the guy's bringing this poor woman into a kill shed, for God's sakes. But he has her in the demo. She's standing way too close to the background. And, this creates a lot of shadows and stuff. And beyond close cutting or a green screen, that's really not useful. But anyways, the poor girl looks terrified. Maybe somebody can let me know if she's all right. They're especially flimsy when compared to a Manfrotto stand. However, 2 of those Manfrotto stands probably cost as much as this whole kit. So for use of as a background stand, the stands are all right, but they're really meant for transporting. Not something I would use given the choice, but they work. At just under 7 feet, the light stands, they're a bit small if you want to get the light just slightly above somebody who's standing. I like to get the light about 18 inches if I'm shooting somebody standing. It's easier to work with the reflections on the glasses and stuff. But again, these are fine for a seated subject. I've never bought a kit and thought much of the stands. They're built to be affordable, lightweight. They're simply complete the kit. So they're meant to be sort of easy to transport and stuff. They're not necessarily robust. I'm a big boy, and I could probably even stand on the C-stands I bought 30 years ago. I would not try that with these. Again, the light stands have a relatively low spread on the bottom, the distance across when they're open, which you're less likely to trip on them, which is a good thing. But they're much more likely to be bumped over when they are on set with a light because the base just isn't very wide. That's a bad thing. Best to put a stand bag on them to be sure nobody gets hurt. You don't damage the lights in a fall. I've seen photographers hang their camera bags on the stands as a handy weight. I never do this. You knock it over, you've just knocked over a bag full of really expensive glass as opposed to, a bag of rocks or something. But sandbags, they're kind of impractical to take on location if you're shooting without an extra pair of hands. And sandbags on these is probably a little bit like, putting an anvil on a paper sculpture. Yeah, you got to work around that. At 7 foot, the cord length of the light is a bit short. It's also kind of flimsy. And while I don't know the rating, likely doesn't affect the performance of the light, Most of the cables on all my other gear, they're just a little bit more heavier, substantial than this. You don't have to worry about standing on it or running a stand over it or something like that. It also requires an extension cord on virtually every light on set, should you wish to move them around longer than that 7-foot span they give you. So that's also a little bit of a tripping hazard. It's a bit of a pet peeve for me. I'm old enough to remember tools back in the 1980s. Most things that you got, they came with a cord, a pretty generous cord, sometimes up to 12 feet. They have placed an on-off switch on the back of this cable for the boxes. That's very handy. It means you're not always unplugging and plugging them back in when you want to turn them off or on, and you don't need to stand on a ladder to get to the top of the head. So that's actually kind of a good thing. The umbrella ones, they put it on the back of the head here. I suppose they're anticipating that you're not going to use this as high, but nevertheless, it is lower on this one. If it wasn't already obvious, these are continuous light sources versus flash, meaning that they have much less output intensity, but they remain constant in output, so that makes them ideal for video. The lights themselves, they're very poorly protected when in use. It's almost a given that this protruding fragile glass is going to be broken. So if you're going to be handling these much, you should probably buy an extra set because this is pretty much guaranteed to fail on this, is that this is going to get broken. The color balance of the lights is listed at 5,700 degrees Kelvin. That's true. I haven't tested it, but if it's true, it's fine for most work. I'm relatively close to the 5,500, like from the Ellen Chrome gear that I normally use. But I wouldn't suspect all these bulbs are exactly the same in either the output or the color balance. And if you're not familiar with color temperature, it simply means the lights are approximately daylight balanced, and they don't have the warm tones that normal bulbs or regular household bulbs would emit. The bulbs themselves are listed at 24-watt LED, which the manufacturer claims is equal to about 800 watts of traditional light bulb power and has UL certification. The level of output is fine for most video work, but woefully underpowered for any type of group photography. For example, at 100 ISO at about 6 feet, this single light will only give enough light for a very minimal f-stop. They would not overpower the ambient light in an average room if you wanted to. Compared to a Godox at half power, it's not even a real comparison really, but I realize there are different applications at very different price points. You can combine the lights to get more, but that might not be how you want to have your lights set up. On the bright side, the lights emit very little heat and are therefore comfortable to be near, even though LED lights in general feel excessively bright on your eyes. I find that to be an LED thing. They are flicker-free, unlike some fluorescent fixtures, and ideally I'd give them a little bit more airflow, a little bit more space in here for the air to flow around. Waiting a minute before you're shutting them off and transporting them and stuff. But that's really more of a superstition thing than science for me. I also leave my batteries upright in my camera bag because I don't want the power to leak out. The actual backdrops are lightweight for sure. Not really a bad thing, but because they're so lightweight, I think this is polyester. They do show the creases when folded, and that makes transportation in this folded state a bit futile. It gives you this, I don't know, like we're making a hostage video or something. But you do have to fold them, and that's an issue. But to be sure, it's much easier than bringing a cumbersome roll of seamless paper on location, but you would have to steam this to get rid of these to avoid the telltale creases and stuff. Personally, I'd probably permanently mount these on maybe some ABS plastic that you can sort of roll up. A heavier material or even paper doesn't crease, but also it isn't as durable as this material is. The instructions don't indicate if it's machine washable, but I would think you would need to clean, especially the white one, I would think. I don't know. I'll have to ask the guy in the kill shed if he's washed his yet. The clamps are actually really good. I prefer the metal to the plastic ones, but they work and they're tight enough and they in spring action, and they're a great addition to the kit. They even give you half a dozen of them, so that's pretty cool. The soft boxes are constructed poorly in comparison to the older Shamir or Westcott models, but they do soften the light. And while the physics of the box construction doesn't produce an even light, the fall off is actually preferred by me. But I do wish they had some sort of recessed fitting on the front to act as a bit of a gobo and better feather the light a little bit. The front edge of the soft box protrudes beyond the sides, which I consider a design flaw. And the stitching is a little bit weak. Same thing with the umbrellas. Grab an umbrella. Same thing with the umbrellas. They're light enough to shoot through, as listed in the Amazon listing, but does anybody really need that? To me, the purpose of the softbox and the umbrella is used to sort of vomit light into a large space. The shoot-through design doesn't really do an efficient use of bouncing the light off in a traditional way that an umbrella works. I much prefer the ones with the black outer liner, so the light isn't flaring back into my camera when it's placed close to the frame. And when the light's placed on the stand, the umbrella is so far off axis, it's not very uniform. Like the light is too high because of the way they've configured or designed the holder on it. So it's off-centered, and that doesn't really produce a very efficient use of light as well. But nonetheless, it works. The case is helpful. It's not waterproof, durable, or industrial, just helpful if compared to a plastic grocery store bag. But it does hold the gear, and there is that. In total, the whole thing weighs very little, making it easy for anyone to carry around. And if you carry your gear in a backpack, it means one person can carry everything. I did a quick headshot test using the unit, and I found that the output to be much less than I'd like for a portrait, but fine for video work. The lights gave me a feasible exposure when I set this portrait up. There's no use in even attempting to use this outdoors, though. It simply isn't bright enough. The green fabric is ideal for green screen and, AI backgrounds. And while the creases are a bit of an issue, you can work around that in Photoshop. It's an extra step you don't have to deal with while using paper backgrounds, but the convenience of it folding up small, I think that's pretty good. In closing, I think the lighting kit is appropriately priced at the $383 price point. Will it last? I doubt it. Not in a day-to-day use. But it's a great way to introduce continuous light into your photography, or more likely your video work. If you make a living from shooting, and you won't be buying something like this, it's simply not built to last, and it lacks the power or the flexibility of even the lower-end strobes or LED panel-style lighting. But, however, if you like to try new things and explore another lighting option for less than the cost of dinner for four in a nice restaurant, hey, put on the craft dinner and log on to Amazon. Yeah. Anyways, that's my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching, and I appreciate any likes or comments or anything you want to put below. And yeah, I guess I got to go walk the dogs now. All right, thanks.